Peace, quick little think fast. Just caught this little vibe, cause I'm of this vibe too at times, with the flat earth or round earth vibe, like is it round or is it flat? But it's like shit, it's like being in a prison. I always, use that analogy. It's like being in a prison, whether the prison round or flat, you're still in prison. But then, something kind of came, up, in a vibe of like, when we doing, say for instance, if we were planning a prison breakout, it would benefit us to know the blueprint of that prison. And again, I'm not no flat earther or round earther or none of that, and not even saying, again, trying to come at nobody or none of it is just open expression. Which of course, if I step on your toes, it is what it is. But like that vibe of, maybe it may be important for us to know whether this place is round or flat. And again, not to, in essence, I feel a vibe of it where it shouldn't be to where we get lost in, just any and all information about it. But, again, because I did hear about how Nikola Tesla technology was based off of knowing, how this plane of existence is shaped or made in essence. So, just, wondering if anybody, feeling that vibe, catching a download. But again, it's like, say if we were planning a prison break, I would have to know how that prison is shaped in order to really get out of it. But again, you could almost, but on a spiritual level, it's a little different, because you could say, hey, it's not about actually breaking out of a physical, like knowing a physical route, but more so knowing, like, how to metaphysically move, you know what I'm saying? So, you kind of could somewhat use that, quote unquote, argument or rebuttal. But again, we don't want to worry about, like, if you're in prison, you're in prison, whether that bitch flat, round, shaped like a grape or orange, or shaped like a sheet of paper. Prison is prison. But again, like, if I am trying to break out of that prison, it would be very beneficial to have the floor plans, and the blueprint and the structure of that building, to get out of it. But again, as using the analogy coinciding with really getting out of prison, But that's just something, to vibe with. And again, not overspending our time on the miscellaneousness of that, is it flat or is it round? But, it may have some degree of importance. That's all I'm trying. That's the point of this video, that it may be. Because again, with our spiritual growth, it's not throwing out just in it like, oh no, that gotta be, because they're gonna try to confuse. Like, nah, matter of fact, I think about opposition by default when I did that video recently about the different tactics that that they use to social engineer and brainwash. And one of the things is opposition by default, where they create a situation where they put out information, so just so people could be like, oh, fuck that. If NASA put it out, it gotta be all fake. It's like, well, no, you gotta look into it. Of course, they about pushing out fake shit, but with disinformation, there is some truth. So again, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bad water. Matter of fact, like I did a video on that, like the Moors. You take your annual bath, and when you take your annual bath, everybody went in, but the baby was the last to take the bath. So it was like, when the water all dirty, it's like, hey, make sure you don't throw the baby out with the bad water, But that's the whole vibe. Just is it? Again, because I feel a vibe again of just more so focusing, and I would look at it more so of like, all right, looking at my body as a blueprint to, the example of maybe how this plane of existence is, shaped or whatever, like, cause as above, so below. That's my little go-to for everything, If it's like this, if the sun moves a certain way through the cosmos of my body, it moves a certain way around the earthly plane. And they got a cell in my body that has a little sun that rotates in it, you know what I'm saying? Like, as above, so below on all levels. So, you know, maybe that would be a helpful format too, dealing with that aspect as well. Waiting for this light. But, you know, again, just want to share that. Because, again, any other time, you know, say, for instance, if you're trying to break out of something, you know, you want to know where you're going. Because otherwise you'll be like in a labyrinth. And that's no coincidence that a labyrinth, you know, is connected to occult information. You know, talk about the Minotaur and the labyrinth. Matter of fact, they kind of tap into that on the movie The Shining, the old school Shining with Jack Nicholson. But it's like, you know, in order to get out of a maze, you know, it would be very important to know how that maze is, you know, the blueprint of that maze, so we could know, like, all right, this is how we get out, you know. But again, like on a metaphysical level, you know, hey, you could be in prison and maybe you could meditate your way out of prison in essence, or, you know, visualize without knowing where you're true. Like, because again, we talk about going through, you know, the true sun and not the fake sun in the sky, you know, but how we know how to navigate, you know what I'm saying? But again, not saying to go and worry yourself about no flat earth or round earth, but just raising that, you know, raising that question. But that's basically it, y'all. Peace. Happy now. Now's a vibrate, of course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past.